Hello there, peoples. Yes, today we are not talking about X-Wing or Warhammer or whatever. Today we're talking about the Transformers TCG, and specifically, we're talking about the top 10 battle cards from the first three waves of the game, because if you're not aware, the day that this is going up is actually the 1 year anniversary of the game being available in North America. So I figured it'd be fun to look back on just what cards have been really good for the first year of the game, and plus I've been needing to get other content on the channel besides just X-Wing and others, well, pretty much just X-Wing at this point, so yeah, we'll get started. There's a couple things I want to bring up here. First off, this is technically not the first time I'm doing like Transformers competitive analysis. I actually run a upstart Transformers competitive analysis site called Cybertron Daily. I'll have a link in the description to that if you're interested. And that was really the only maintenance thing. As for the rules of the list, basically every card released between Wave 1's initial release date and now is completely allowed on the list. So the two promo battle cards and the character cards and all the stuff that were promos or not in the main sets are valid. And as I just implied, sort of, today we're going to be looking at the battle cards, at least the 10 best battle cards, excuse me. And tomorrow, or in the later video, which is going to be going up soon after this one, we're going to be looking at the top 10 character cards. So without further ado, let's actually start with some honorable mentions on the battle card list. So these are cards that either A, are okay, but don't really see as much play due to a variety of factors, or B, are new, seem good, but still unproven at this point, but have the potential to be great. So we'll start off with Anticipation Engine. This is one of those cards that has the potential to be great. Just being able to play an action beforehand to get like an extra bold trigger or extra attack or stuff like that, that always helps in a fight, and it's just an overall great thing to have. And while it is the how do I phrase this? It's 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 relative newness, if that's a word, is definitely holding it back a little bit right now because people haven't exactly figured out what's going to be the best use for it, but it still is a really good card. So that's that. Confidence, you basically, if you see an all auto bot deck, you see a copy of Confidence or two or three or something like that. Cards decks especially have benefited from this, but because it's all auto bots and you're generally seeing a lot of mixed teams right now, with a couple of exceptions, you don't see it as much, so that's why I got stuck in the honorable mentions. Enforcement batons, +1 attack, as well as being able to remove a weapon. It's great, but really, like, you don't. It's it's okay. I mean, there are some better things that you can use in terms of like upgrades and when it comes to weapons, but it still has its uses, so it's a nice sideboard card. I'm lumping Field Communicator and Leap of Faith together here because they both allow you to play cards off the top of your deck. But the reason that they're on the honorable mention side of things is because they can be a bit random and result in some cards, or just result in situations where you flip a card and you get something really crappy and you don't get to play anything extra and you essentially just wasted your action or upgrade for the turn. So there's a bit of risk to it, but they're still really good, so honorable mention. Vaporize and Ramming Speed, just scrap it upgrade, always great, but it's not really anything special, so that's why that got stuck here. Noble's Blaster, Scoundrel's Blaster, great. Some of the better upgrades in the game right now. +2 attack, Pierce 2 if you're attacking the opposite faction, but again, you have to attack the opposite faction, so that limits it a little bit, throwing it on honorable mentions. Flamethrowers are great, just general upgrade. Bolt 2 is always a good thing, but other weapons sort of overshadow it nowadays. I Still Function's great, but it's really only great with Wave 1 Sludge, Alita 1, and what was the third character? Um, there was one more character that is good with I Still Function. I'll throw it up on screen if I remember. So it's good, but it's only good with like three characters. So there's that. Leap into Battle, +3 attack. It's good, but it's not anything special. But it's, again, still a good card. Plasma Burst, a straight 2 damage, always a good thing, but nothing special. And Supercharge, a straight bold 3, nothing special. So that's all the honorable mentions. So let's start the actual list at number 10 with Quartermaster. Now, this on its own doesn't do like anything special. It just lets you play a Battle Master upgrade from your KO area. Here's the thing, though. This card alone is what makes Battle Masters playable. Because if you go on to Cybertron Daily or literally any Transformers competitive site, in the early reveals for Wave 3, when they were talking about Battle Masters, you'll likely see at one point somebody mentioning, here's the problem. one shot from like a ramming speed or something, and the upgrade is just gone. So they were extremely vulnerable. But then we got Quartermaster revealed, and we're like, okay, wait a minute, we might actually be able to play this now. So on its own, Quartermaster just makes an entire category of upgrades playable. Albeit you have to have that category in order for it to do anything, because other than that, it just has a white icon, which like at least like 20 other cards have white icons, or probably more, but whatever. Quartermaster makes the whole category of cards playable. That's why it's on the list. Moving on to number 9, and I'm lumping two cards in here because they're basically the same thing, but just kind of polar opposites. We have The Bigger They Are and Heavy Handed. Now, both of these do the same thing, basically. You get +2 attack and Pierce 2 if you're attacking a character with a star value either higher or lower than you. Lower if you're using Heavy Handed, higher if you're using Bigger They Are. Attack bonuses are always great. Throwing in the Pierce is always great, and Bigger They Are especially. It's helpful for those like weaker characters that aren't necessarily able to hit consistently like 6 or 7 damage and attack. And heavy-handed's just a nice way if you got like if Demolisher's on the enemy team or something like that. You have a nice way to just smash them into the curb or something. Or if you're just running Optimus Prime Battlefield Legend, of course, you could just play this on there and then just absolutely wreck anything. So yeah, heavy-handed, bigger they are, just great utility cards. Speaking of utility cards, at number 8 we have Force Field, which is which at the time of Wave 1 was probably the best card in the game. It slipped in favor a little bit due to some higher level decks only choosing to run 1 or 2 copies in the main deck and only 1 or 2 in the sideboard. But the fact that you can just reduce all damage done to you except for 4 when you get hit, it's still a pretty potent effect. And for something like Ransack that wants to take damage, it's always a nice thing to have, just so you can take a strong hit and then just punch back even harder. So having that around is always a great thing. And plus, keeping like weaker characters alive for extra turns, it's nice. Unless, of course, your opponent drops like a ramming speed or something. But that's a situation we're not taking into consideration here. Well, I mean, we kind of are, but Force Field, it's a good card. Number 7, we kind of have the pinnacle of the sideboard card, Press the Advantage. Now, Decepticon decks, this isn't really that good for it, so that limits it a little bit. But the decks that are like mixed or Autobot only, this is amazing. 2 or 3 copies in your sideboard, one in your deck, and then you just +2 attack to one of your characters, or to one of your Autobots, -2 defense to one of your enemies' Decepticons. Again, we've been seeing a lot of mixed teams, so this just allows you to take out like an extra character that you normally wouldn't consider attacking, especially if your opponent's like bringing Demolisher or something. So, and plus the attack bonus is no slouch, even if you don't get the defense bonus off or defense penalty off. So, still a really good card. Now, again, it's only at number 7 because again, it doesn't work with Decepticons, but what it does do, it does well. At number 6, we have Marksmanship. Now, I was originally going to put Plasma Burst here, but the problem with Plasma Burst is it doesn't have an icon, which definitely hurts its potential a little bit. And Marksmanship does have an icon, a blue one in this case. And while it is a little more limiting in the text, and whereas Plasma Burst, you just go 2 damage, boom. Marksmanship, you have to have a character in bot, or you have to have a ranged character, and you have to shoot an enemy in bot mode. The thing is, if you've played the game, you'll be surprised how frequently that comes up, because like I'm pretty sure like a little over like 40% of the characters in game are ranged. I will double check that number afterwards after I'm done recording this. But because of that, you're gonna likely have a ranged character on your team somehow. And you'd be surprised how frequently characters will stay in bot mode. Like, if you look at Micromasters, they like to stay in bot mode for their tap skills. Optimus Prime, Battlefield Legend, he likes to stay in bot mode for his skill. General Prime, I mean, he likes to stay in alt mode sometimes, but when he well, actually, no, not General Prime. He likes to stay in alt mode more. Point is, there's a lot of characters that do want to go into bot mode, so having this on hand just to take advantage of that and sort of make your opponent second guess if they want to flip a character, that's a pretty potent thing. Because this is kind of the pinnacle of something that Ross over at Wassy Plays says, and that if your opponent is deliberately hurting themselves to try and stop you, that is a positive thing for you, because again, they can't do what they want. So that's why Marksmanship got put here. Number 5, we have Bashing Shield. Now, Bashing Shield and Enforcement Batons are kind of opposites of each other, but Bashing Shield is amazing because, again, we have Force Field in the format. This is such a pain in the rear sometimes. you gotta have Bashing Shield on hand to just knock it off. Or really, if any armor shows up, you just go, yeah, no, Bashing Shield. And plus, the +1 defense isn't necessarily a slouch either, so having a Bashing Shield to deal with Bashing Shield also is a nice thing. So it's, again, not anything too special, just +1 defense plus a removal of an armor, but it does what it does well, and it's just a really good card to have on hand to deal with whatever your opponent may throw at you in terms of armor. So that's why it got put here. Number 4, we have One Shall Stand, One Shall Fall. Now, this was a card when it was originally released. It was a bit of a head scratcher, at least for me. Like, sure, you're doing 3 damage, but you're also taking 3 damage. And then we started to have tournaments, and we started to see people were willing to take that risk because we saw characters like Optimus Prime, Battlefield Legend, Nemesis Prime. We saw these big, bulky characters that didn't really care about 3 damage. On top of that, of course, you have like characters like Ransack who want to take damage, and I've actually used One Shall Stand, One Shall Fall to my advantage when running my Prime and Jank deck with Ransack RC and Optimus Prime. So it definitely has its utilities beyond just like with only Ransack. It can really serve in any deck, and again, players are like on the competitive scene, they are good enough to know when to drop this as to not hurt yourself as much. So in that regard, that it's not as much of a liability as most people might consider. So that's why it got put here. Number 3, we have Security Checkpoint. Now, this is kind of a weird one, because on the one hand, like, some people may disagree with me putting it over One Shall Stand, One Shall Fall, Marksmanship, and Force Field, but here's the thing. This is a double icon card. We only have a few, like 2 double icon cards that don't have star cards, so that makes it already inherently good because you have that double icon without having to decrease your team size. But here's the thing. If you look at the other 3 non-double icon star cards, Peace Through Tyranny, Improvised Shield, Handheld Blaster, they're all pretty bad on their effects. Peace Through Tyranny lets you KO a character and you get an extra turn, but you don't want to do that 95% of the time. And then Improvised Shield and Handheld Blaster are just tough 1 and bold 1, and in that case, you're better off just playing Flamethrower and Reinforced Plating. And whereas Security Checkpoint, the effect actually has seen a number of like actual plays from the hand, and since it just scraps all your opponent's upgrades, I've seen it make a huge difference. I've used it to make a huge difference in the game. The fact that it has that double icon while remaining good on its ability just makes it such a great package to put in your deck, even if you're not playing a defensive deck, since it has blue icons. And that's why I'm arguing it's better than Force Field, Press the Advantage, Marksmanship. Just because everything about it is good. The double icons are good, the effect is good, and that just makes it great. Number 2, we have the Grenade Launcher, probably the most powerful weapon, or actually, no, that's a lie. Battle Masters are more powerful. The most powerful standard, like, non-Battle Master weapon available. It's a +4 attack for 1 turn, but you can... that was a weird audio spike. I am sorry about that, because I heard it in my headphones. But Grenade Launcher, +4 attack, only for 1 shot, but just the fact that you can do that is just so game-changing in so many situations, and you can use it with so many characters for various different things. You can use it with Ransack before he gets charged up. You can use it with RC to launch like a Pierce 7 attack. Use it with Optimus Prime, Battlefield Legend just to smash even more. Same with Nemesis Prime. Use it with Thrust, and then another character gets a +7 boost instead of +3, and it doesn't scrap. There's just so many things you can do with it beyond the here's an extra attack boost. And there's just so many characters that are good with it that it's such a great card. But it's not the best weapon. That honor, actually it's not even the best battle card. That honor goes to Energon Axe. It's a +3 bonus permanently, plus Pierce 2, but you do have to put it on a damaged character. But remember what I said earlier about One Shall Stand, One Shall Fall, dealing damage to yourself? Play this, then drop an Energon Axe, you're good to go. Because, seriously, let's face it, a lot of the +3 weapons have some major downside. Erratic Lightning, -1 defense. Static Laser of Ironhide. You're not Ironhide, you take 2 damage. The Laser Launcher from Wave 3, that has no icons. This has the icon. This has the attack boost without any sort of major drawback, and the drawback that it quote-unquote does have, you could work around it with One Shall Stand, One Shall Fall, or if you throw it on like Ransack or something, you're inherently going to be damaged. and as such, because it's such an easy thing to work around, plus the attack bonus and the extra pierce is great, that is why I put Energon X at number 1. But of course, that's just my lousy opinion. You probably all have your arguments for whatever, so go ahead and post those in the comments. Let's discuss this a little bit. But please, keep it civil. I don't need to be breaking up Flame Wars. So, yeah, go ahead. Just discuss in the comments. What do you think the 10 best battle cards are? The character card video should be up soon after that. And, yeah, go take a look at that. I will link it in the description once it's up so that way you can go watch it. And that will do it for this video. Peace out.